Southeast Nigeria, a land of traders, of markets that never sleep, and restless entrepreneurial spirit. But beneath the hustle of Aba and Onisha, something is rotten, the very foundations. Corruption, impunity, a shocking lack of accountability in governance. Billions of naira meant for roads, power, and hospitals simply disappear into private pockets. Businesses are choking on broken roads and the constant roar of generators. Sit at home orders, when it was enforced by fear and insecurity, already wiped out over 7.6 trillion naira in this region alone. Trading days lost, supply chains shattered, investors packing up and leaving. In a region built on commerce and resilience, systemic graft and weak oversight are quietly strangling one of Nigeria's most dynamic economies. This is the hidden economic emergency that official figures barely reveal, and it's getting worse. Welcome to Eastern Business Report. My guest today is Anitche Ndudim Rowland, financial analyst and CEO, Rugon Capital Limited. Thank you so much,
Thank you,
Mr.
Alex.
Anitche, for joining me this morning. I mean, if perhaps you bump onto somebody in the street and ask him, especially people from the Southeast, do you know the budget of your state? How much of it do you understand? In those days, there's something they call budget tracking. Budget tracking is a skill that needs to be acquired, but how many persons in the Southeast actually understand how to look at the line items of their state's budget and easily grasp something there?
Well, it's very few, and I think ideally the political economists have been controlling the country, mostly from the central bank and even in government. I don't know if there's a subtle or deliberate attempt to make people ignorant of the finances of his country or his state. And it's even bad, our curricula doesn't really teach in details how to be able to understand, especially students of economics and finance, how the economy works. It's just basically garbage in, garbage out. Maybe because most of them were they didn't have any on-hands experience in managing businesses or having experience private or in government. So it's a whole lot. Then there's another sad aspect, which I have noticed here, especially in the Southeast. Politically, we're so laid back and full of apathy towards anything concerning government. Maybe because I schooled in the Southwest, where there's this activism, consciousness, politically. And also even my experience while working in Nsukka with how the school authorities, I can say it anyway, I defend it, how the school authorities directly or indirectly influences who becomes student union president to regulate and manage them, control them, cow them completely, so that even when there are policies that are not favorable to the students, you don't see a pushback, you don't see engagement, you don't see demonstrations or a protest against some policies that are not favorable, especially when school fees are increased. I engaged a friend that was a neighbor that was one time the Dean of Student Affairs of UNN. And I told him point blank, you see this thing you guys are doing, you're killing the future of students or the potential future leaders from the Southeast politically. When you make them passive, ignorant, you don't have interests in anything politics. Oh, politics is bitter, is dirty. So you see that attitude, and that's why you see apathy is highest in this region. And so it's something we all have collective responsibility at. Now, the idea of even finance again, maybe because of my exposure and interest, and I've been looking at figures and like, hey, this is what's going on, this is what's going on. People don't seem to be like interested.
Okay.
So it's a whole lot. It's a whole lot of problems.
What aspects do you think will be the most opaque in terms of the things that governments of the Southeast, in terms of their finances and their budgets, What do you think that they are not exactly open to, bringing to the public domain from what you have seen?
Okay. Now, the budgeting, every government in the South, when they present their budget, it's already open. What they intend to do, the revenues and the expenditures. For the states, either they collect revenues from federal government receipts, from FAC and JAC, and VAT, and for mineral resource area, oil-rich resources area, which comes 13% derivation. Then the last one, which is the IGR. So these are your major sources of revenue. Then if the expenditure is more than the revenue, there's a shortfall. So that shortfall, where does it come from? It comes from borrowing. So all those things are laid out. And so when the governor presents a budget, I intend to raise X, Y, Z. First from government receipts, second from IGR, and the last one from borrowing. It's clearly stated. And so when the House, which is a representation of the people, they don't really understand. The problem now is for the House, which is supposed to be the guardrail for the executive, and holding the power of the purse. Because most times I want to believe, sometimes most of the National Assembly, State Assembly members that will, with a stroke of pen in one day, approve a budget, I tend to ask, do these people actually understand what they're doing? As a state legislator, you hold two key functions, or three functions. Number one, oversight. Number two, making of laws. And three, having the power of the purse. I can understand that not everybody can be a lawyer, or everybody will understand the issues of finance, but they should have legislative aides and consultants to guide them on these two key areas when it comes to matters of the purse, the power of the purse, and laws making. Now, for the power of the purse, there are figures, financial figures which will be presented budget. There are numbers. It depends on how you make do with it or be able to interpret and understand it. Not just for now, but implications, not just for now, but 4, 5, or 10 years to come. So the issues now is if your legislators that are supposed to be the guardrails do not understand this, then it's a bigger problem. Because you've given the government, the moment a budget is passed, you have given the governor a fait accompli. Because when it comes to more of the loans, collecting loans, as long as it is in a budget that the governor can borrow, yes, he will go ahead to augment shortfall in revenue from borrowing. Now, the question now is, borrowing is not a crime. It should not be criminalized. It's not an offense. Everybody has biases towards borrowing. That's your personal issue. But the fact of it all is, borrowing, if well utilized, is cheap, very good, well managed, and can give you milestone, depending on your capacity to pay back. These are the issues. Now the question is, okay, when the governor now approaches the National Assembly to approve a loan, the loan should be, what should it be for? Specific, not open-ended. And borrowing should be tied to projects that can pay back itself, or transform the entire area where potential revenues, not just now, but the future, can come up. So these are the issues about borrowing. So when the governors present a budget, I want to borrow, like Enugu now, 70 billion projects, it should not be open. Those funds should be tied. Especially like the case of the 60 billion term loan. Okay, no problem. It's in the budget you want to borrow. The 60 billion, what specific project? Is it maybe Ugogonike Road? How much is it? The commissioner for works would have prepared the BOQ and the timeline and how the monies will be paid. If it's a road that will take 1 year and it is 12 billion, we don't know from January till December 12 kilometers of road is complete at the cost of 1 billion. Clear and simple. We want to come back by, let's say, January, February, that road is commissioned. And that is how it should be.
We're almost out of time. And for that, I'll need to ask you this question. And that is, what is it that needs to happen so that our people will wake up? For instance, I understand that for any government to borrow, it needs to pass through either the National Assembly, if that's national, or the State Assembly, if it is at the state level.
Yeah.
We don't get to hear, apart from the one Tinubu is sending to the Senate, you don't hear, the governors don't send anything. Or is there any other way they handle it? Shouldn't they be learning from the national? If the governor makes a demand to borrow, shouldn't the people know? Even if the people will not stop it, shouldn't the people know that their governor wants to borrow money?
It's always announced. It's always announced. The question is, that request should come to the floor and there should be a public hearing, like at the state level. Then you will see contributions from the public to guide the State House of Assembly members. The State House of Assembly, they can always maybe invite people from private sector, people from the academia, people from market unions, the implications of it and how it should be managed, so that it will give them an idea, okay, what to do, how to tweak it. Either, okay, the amount should be increased or reduced, or the project itself, okay, how it will be deployed. These are areas, it should be participatory, not more or less like a caucus meeting where a group of people sit down and approve. And so from that public hearings, it will now serve as a guide to the legislator to now recommend to the state, okay, yes, we agree this, but subsequently, if possible, most likely recipients or ministries that will be recipients of those loans will come around. It's okay. We want to engage the commissioners, either Minister for Works, Housing, or whatever the funds will be deployed. Okay, tell us how these funds will be deployed, the timeline, the BOQ. And after, even when the loans are approved and deployed, there's also oversight by the House of Assembly members to check, so that we don't have a repeat of the Sujimoto scandal.
That would be a good place to leave it. Very many thanks to you, Anitche Ndudim Rowland. He's a financial analyst and CEO, Rugon Capital Limited. And that's the Eastern Business Report for today. And of course, the Business Morning on Afia TV returns tomorrow. Many thanks for staying with us. My name is Alex Obodo. Coming up next is Onya Afia.